For example, and I can attest to this, an individual drives to the bank to withdraw money from their checking account. When they get to the bank, they withdraw the money, as they normally do, and they take the money and go home with it. And then, when they get there, they don't know what they've done with the money, and they feel like somebody has come into their home somehow and has stolen their money. They have forgotten that they went to the bank to get the money, but they don't know what they've done with it. They will call the bank. Somebody has robbed my checking account. I'm noticing that I went to withdraw money and I don't have the money, and I know that I somehow went last month to get money, and I'm looking at my checking account and it shows a certain amount that's in the account, and that's incorrect. I should have more money than this. They have no idea. They're not sure when that dinner is. Would you please tell me when the dinner is going to take place? And the person said, well, you were there. They're almost embarrassed to let you know what has happened because they're trying to protect how you feel. Because they really will tell you, the dementia patient will say, oh no, I wasn't there. I've been sitting right here all this time. And so it's those kinds of dynamics that are very challenging, not only for the individual early on as this problem is emerging and developing, but it's also challenging for the caregiver. The caregiver has to double check and make sure what transpired was just as you thought it would be. Go to the bank, the withdrawal is identified by the very person who says they never went to the bank, and so you now become fully aware of the problem. Now you have to learn a little bit more about the problem and not keep the person in the home or keep yourself in denial or feel ashamed or embarrassed to do something about this. That caregiver needs to know that it's all right, it's okay to tell somebody that I need help. And I'm not ashamed to admit that there is a major problem here that needs help. I need help. I need resources. I need sophistication. I need tutorials. Somebody needs to teach me how to manage this complex issue. So as you can see, dementia, especially the Alzheimer's type, is complicated. It can be reduced in its onset to some degree by making sure hypertension is well controlled, cigarette smoking is discontinued. If you're on blood pressure medicines, make sure that they take them, because the Alzheimer's person, they will have hypertension, and when the hypertension is out of control, you'll notice that their dementia worsens. And you'll have this sort of a stair-step downward decline. The memory is sharp for one moment, and then the blood pressures are going up, then the memory worsens, and then they begin to behave differently until you get them back on that medication, and then suddenly they go up to being more coherent for a while. But again, it's a continual deterioration over time because the brain cells are being destroyed. I think I'm going to stop at this point. I've been at it for a while just to give you a broad brush view of the psychodynamics of the problem, some of the spiritual issues that emerge from the problem, and certainly some of the medical problems that go along with this problem. And some of these medical problems can be corrected, can be managed very nicely, but the caregiver has to make sure that the person is taking the medications at the appropriate place and time. There are MRIs that are done that can mark some of the deterioration of the brain. There are blood studies that can show some of the reasons why they're developing some of the underlying disease, such as diabetes and elevated cholesterol, which also causes damage and stickiness within the coronary arteries, which platelets will stick to. I'm getting technical again, forgive me. And they get blocked up with calcium, and then you have a heart attack and all these bad things. So let us, as a group, become a little more sophisticated with regards to how to manage the risk factors that we can manage, how to prevent some of the problems of injury that we can prevent by keeping a close eye on our loved one or the person that we're taking care of, making sure they don't harm themselves, keep them out of automobiles once you notice that they forget that their cognitive function has deteriorated to the degree in which they don't make sound decisions. Even though they will tell, oh, I've been driving for 30, 40 years. You know I'm a good driver. Yes, we did. We did know that they were good drivers. But now, you can't tell a red light from a green light. You can't tell a left from a right. And you don't know when to stop. So it's those kinds of problems that you have to be subtle yet assertive. Somebody say subtle, yet assertive, so that you can save their lives from major damage. I think on that note, I think I'll stop and ask for just a few questions. Are there any questions relative to some of the risk factors or some of the concerns of the integration of clergy and community resources available for dementia patients? Are there any concerns about how ministry get into the homes and minister to these people who have this major problem?
Dr. Lundy, let's give him a round of applause again, please. I don't know if we could have found anyone more qualified to speak on the medical issue as well as the spiritual side of things. He is very uniquely qualified, being a bishop as well as an MD, and so we're just so appreciative of having him here.